Okay, let's talk about that really strange, kind of uncomfortable feeling a lot of us get when someone says something nice about us. And I'll give you a spoiler right up front. The reason for it has absolutely nothing to do with being modest. You know the feeling, right? Someone praises your work, maybe your outfit, and instead of feeling good, you just get this immediate urge to brush it off, make a joke, or maybe even point out something you did wrong, just to kind of balance things out. If you know what I'm talking about, you are in the right place. And this right here is the big idea we're going to unpack. That feeling, that discomfort, it isn't just some weird social quirk. No, it's actually a defense mechanism. It's your brain trying to shield you from a kind of attention that, for some very specific reasons, it's learned to see as unsafe or just plain weird. So let's get into how this actually works. We really need to start thinking about our brain as more than just a computer. It's more like a bodyguard. It's constantly filtering everything we experience to keep us safe and to make sure everything lines up with our own deep down sense of who we are. So for a lot of us, when someone gives us praise, it doesn't feel like a gift. It feels like noise. It's like static that messes with the story we've been telling ourselves about who we are. And that feeling points to a really fascinating psychological concept called the internal locus of evaluation. What this basically means is that when you have a strong internal locus of evaluation, your own opinion of yourself is the one that really matters. It carries all the weight. So outside opinions, even really nice ones, they just don't hit the same weight because you've already made up your mind about your own worth long before anyone else had a say. Okay, so now that we have that basic idea down, let's break down the 5 specific, kind of hidden reasons why a simple compliment might make you want to crawl out of your skin. And honestly, just understanding these can be a huge relief. So this first reason, it often starts way, way back in our childhoods. This is for all of us who had to become little adults and take on grown-up responsibilities way before our time. There's a word for this. Psychologists call it parentification. It's what happens when a kid has to become the caretaker, the problem solver, or even the emotional rock for their family. And when that happens, their own needs, the need to just be a kid to be cared for, they get pushed way, way down. And here's the fallout from that. Your nervous system literally rewired itself. It learned that your value comes from being useful, from being strong, from being the one who doesn't need anything. So now, as an adult, being praised or celebrated, well, it feels totally foreign. It feels like you're not doing your job. That self-sufficiency you learned so well, it often brings a shadow with it. And that brings us to reason number 2, a really powerful, deep-seated guilt that gets triggered by attention. And at the heart of this is a belief that to need anything at all from someone else, whether it's help or just a little bit of recognition, it means you're being a burden. This is such a common feeling for anyone who had to be the strong one growing up. So what happens? A compliment comes your way, and your brain's knee-jerk reaction is to shrink. You downplay what you did, you might even apologize for getting attention because your subconscious is desperately trying to make you as small and as invisible as possible, all to avoid feeling like a weight on somebody else. Okay, let's move on to number 3. Now, this one is pretty interesting because it often affects people who are really smart and very self-aware. It's a paradox, really, where one of your greatest cognitive strengths becomes a bit of a social hurdle. So metacognition, it's basically the ability to think about your own thoughts. It's an incredible tool for learning and growing, but it has one major side effect. It makes you hyper-aware of every single one of your flaws. You see them in crystal clear high definition. And this is the trap. Someone tells you, that was amazing work, but your brain is already listing the counter-arguments. But I missed that one detail, and I know I could have done that other part way better, and I'm definitely not an expert on this yet. The praise feels false, Like they just don't have all the information. It makes you feel like a bit of a fraud. All right, reason number 4. Now, this one can easily be mistaken for being shy or insecure, but it's actually a sign of massive inner strength. So if you're someone with high internal validation, you probably value your privacy way more than popularity. Since you judge yourself by your own standards, praise from someone else can honestly feel like an intrusion. It's like being dragged on stage to receive an award for something you already gave yourself a quiet pat on the back for. In that light, a compliment isn't a reward, it's a disruption. And that brings us to our 5th and final reason, which is all about safety and self-protection that's been built up from past experiences. Look, If you've ever dealt with praise that came with strings attached, or you got support that vanished when you really needed it, your brain learns to be cautious. Having a high trust threshold isn't you being pessimistic, it's an adaptive survival skill. You subconsciously start scanning compliments for their true motive, wondering, is this real or do they want something? Staying guarded is just how you protect yourself from getting hurt again. So when you pull all of these 5 pieces together, a pretty clear picture starts to emerge. Your struggle with taking a compliment, it is not a flaw. It's the end result of a highly, highly developed skill, self-reliance. Your guardedness is proof that you know how to protect yourself. So where does that leave us? What do we do with all this? Well, the way forward isn't about fixing some problem in yourself. It's about changing your perspective and maybe giving yourself a little permission. Let's really sit with this for a second. If being guarded is a skill you had to learn to survive, then what does it even mean to heal from it? Does it mean you have to just tear down all your walls and let everyone in? I think we know the answer is absolutely not. Healing is not about getting rid of your strength or becoming naive. It's about realizing that the situations that forced you to hide, to be small, they might be over. It's about learning very slowly and very carefully that it can be safe to be seen, safe to be celebrated, and safe to accept a little softness. So if you take away one thing, let it be this. You are not broken because you're guarded. You're not weird for feeling awkward. You are simply a product of your life's experiences. And now, you are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to be enough just as you are.